I'm Susie Harris and I'm here with my Comfy co-founder Vicky Erickson. So thank you for joining us for the first ever Comfy panel session, and we're live here at the Comfy Hub, which is located at 347 Parnell Road, Parnell. So Comfy is New Zealand's first online bed business with a social purpose, and we're here to help New Zealanders find the best sleep of their lives. And this is the reason why we're here, is to tell you why and how to get your best sleep through our Precious Sleep and Perimenopause session.
So as Susie, the reason we've done this is because both of us are experiencing perimenopause, and we get it. We understand the aches and the pains, the brain fog, the moods, the sore points, the husband's chewing really loudly all of a sudden. We get it, and we know that there are more than over 40 symptoms of perimenopause, and between us I feel like we've just about felt every single one of them. We also know that there's a lot of information out there, and it can just feel so overwhelming and confusing, and more than informative and enlightening. So one thing is clear, that sleep seems to be the most impacted in perimenopause, and it's so precious to have because it can alleviate so many of our symptoms, both physically and mentally. So today's panel, we will focus on the importance of sleep and perimenopause, and we hope it cuts through all the noise by going straight to two experts in the field. We're so lucky to have you guys. So one of our guests here tonight is our Comfy Sleep Ambassador and sleep expert, Gareth O'Donnell. Gareth has worked in health and the fitness space for over 22 years as a coach and a gym owner and running corporate health programs. He has a degree in sports recreation and has put countless hours into nutrition, health tech, and sleep coaching, specifically creating systems and programs and environments that contribute to the continued improvement of sleep in people's lives.
It's an introduction.
Where he was finishing.
Oh, wow.
He's deep dived into the importance of sleep, not only for your physical health, but your mental health. And he believes sleep to be one of the key pillars of health, not only to assist in longevity and anti-aging, but also in our mental state and how we basically face the day. He has designed and tested a number of easy to follow sleep hacks that people can apply to get their best night's sleeps. We know what these are because we've done a couple as well, and they do work. And lucky for us, he also happens to be our Comfy Bed Ambassador.
Right, and we've got Niki Bezzant. Thank you for joining us at the Comfy Hub.
Pleasure.
Yeah, so you are an award-winning journalist, author, editor, who do so much, and reputation for things that sound quite complex, like health and science. You put it in a way that we understand it better. And you've been an editor at Thrive magazine and the Health Food Guide magazine, and I've seen quite a few of your articles and on radio all about health and well-being. And you're about to launch a new book about women and aging, but we've also got your best-selling book here, This Changes Everything, The Honest Guide to Menopause and Perimenopause, which we've been soaking up, and now I understand why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling now.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm not going mad. So so thanks for joining us, and let's start. Welcome. Right. So I think most probably we'll get into the first question, is talking about perimenopause and menopause and why are we changing and why does it affect us?
Yeah. I mean, it's a big question, right? It's probably worth just explaining the terminology a little bit, because it can be like perimenopause is a concept that people don't necessarily understand. And so menopause is actually just one day. It's one day a year after you've had your last period. So you kind of don't know until, in retrospect, you can diagnose it if you like. But what is happening at menopause is that your hormones, your reproductive hormones, so your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone too a little bit, have gone down. That they would have gone down by the time you get to menopause, or the time you get postmenopausal. They're at the same level as they were before you went through puberty. So it's kind of like the reversal of puberty, if you like. You think about it like that. Yeah. But it doesn't go in this lovely, slow, steady decline. It really it goes like on a bit more of a roller coaster. So it goes up and down, particularly estrogen goes up and down in a kind of a crazy turbulent way. And that is all of that time that's happening, that roller coaster, is the time leading up to menopause, and that's what we call perimenopause.
Right.
And that can be like between 2 and 10 years. So it's very variable.
It's a long time.
And very individual, like it's just a
Yeah.
different experience for everyone. But all that fluctuation, all that kind of turbulence is what causes most of those 40 odd symptoms. Every time I turn around now, there's another list of more symptoms. I think the one in my book has got 42, but I mean, there are just tons and tons of things that are affected by perimenopause, because estrogen is this amazing hormone that drives just about every system in our body as women, and so it's got a finger in a lot of different pies in the body, and so when estrogen is going haywire, it is affecting lots of things, seemingly random, unconnected.
Yeah,
And that's
can you test it? Like, how do you know?
Everyone would love to have a
question.
test, wouldn't they?
Yes.
It's very human to want to go, yep, tick that box, it's definitely perimenopause. There's no test. And, you'll see tests marketed, you'll see urine tests and saliva tests and all kinds of things, but those are not legitimate tests, or at least they're not recognised by any of the menopause expert bodies around the world. And blood tests are not useful either, because of that roller coaster, because a blood test is only going to give you a snapshot really of what's going on at that time on that day, because it's going up and down like crazy. So you can't really diagnose it through a test, but you can by looking at your symptoms and your cycles too. So, what starts to happen with the cycle in perimenopause is it starts to go a bit haywire, goes longer, shorter, heavier, lighter, all kinds of changes start happening.
Yeah.
And then as you get through perimenopause into more of the late perimenopause stage, you get longer and longer gaps. So you might get 2 or 3 or 4 months between cycles, or you might get cycles where there's no, it's really just, it gets very uneven. And putting all those jigsaw puzzle pieces together is how you diagnose perimenopause. Really.
Are there like common symptoms? Like what, we can all get, I won't talk about myself, but I
mean, I
surveyed
women when I was researching the book, and so, I mean, women reported suffering all of those symptoms on that list, but the sort of top 4 really are the hot flushes and the night sweat. So a hot flush when you have it at night time, this is a night sweat, wakes you up usually, irritatingly.
Yes.
And then the sleep stuff is super common. Like more than half of women report sleep issues in perimenopause. The mood stuff is also super common. So low mood swings, rage, anxiety and depression as well can pop up more, or they can recur if you've had them in the past. So all that mood stuff, and the cognition stuff as well. So the brain fog. The forgetting stuff, the forgetting words, losing words, all that's really common. Yeah. And then the body changes as well. So the weight gain, the redistribution of weight, that kind of thing. So those are kind of like the top 4.
It's amazing how it just suddenly happens. Like I've felt that over the last few years. Like each of the symptoms.
So not everybody will have those. Not everybody will have all of those or any of them. But because like 1 in 5 women will have no symptoms.
Jeez.
Just sail on through, and those are the ones going, what is all this fuss about menopause? But then 1 in 5 women will have a really rough time, and then most of us are kind of in the middle. I would put myself in that category too, like just some symptoms that are problematic that need a bit of support.
Yeah, because it's amazing. One half the day you feel amazing, and then the second half you can change, and that's all part of like mind's energy as well. Fatigue is a big thing. And if you think about all the other symptoms, fatigue is a kind of natural outcome of that. And low energy and feeling like you just are constantly tired. And the other thing that you mentioned in your book for quite a lot was what's the deal with HRT, and what is it? How does it work? And like there's been research, is it safe?
HRT is a big thorny topic, and I mean I've kind of got a whole chapter in there on it, because it needs to be unpacked. It kind of needs to be stigmatized, if you like. HRT got a bad reputation because of a study that was done more than 20 years ago now, called the Women's Health Initiative. It was a big study, and it was actually looking at what they knew that HRT was useful for menopause symptoms. They were kind of looking to see what else it might be useful for women, but it was not a particularly well designed study. And the way they actually halted the study early because of what they said was a risk of breast cancer.
That's right.
Elevated, so everyone has this idea now in their head that HRT equals breast cancer. It's scary, or at least people have had that idea for a long time. What actually was going on there, and what's kind of subsequently been unearthed, is that study was, that result was kind of misinterpreted and misreported. But actually what happened was that people just threw away their HRT, stopped using it, doctors stopped prescribing it, and stopped learning about it as well. So there was really a generation of women, maybe even two, who just really were left on their own to deal with their symptoms, which is pretty terrible. It's starting to lose that stigma now, because we know now that HRT is, for most women, pretty safe and very effective. Like, it's a very effective treatment, particularly for hot flushes, and it can really help with sleep, and it can fix, or it can help with a lot of the things that are on that list. It's not a magical cure, and it's not for everyone. Like, you know, not everyone, it won't be appropriate for everyone. It's not like a kind of a cure-all or a magic pill, but it is extremely useful. And the risk is low for most women, especially if you put it into context and compare it to, you know, your risk, the other breast cancer risk factors, which there are quite a few of.
Because it's interesting, I think it's become a hot topic, hasn't it? Perimenopause and menopause.
Yeah.
I don't think it was even I was thinking my mother's generation. But now suddenly I think we're more open.
Well, I think our generation is gone, holy crap, what's going on here, you know? And so for me it was that too, you know, when I started researching this like 3 or 4 years ago now.
Which is not that long ago.
It's not that long ago, it's nothing. There was no book.
It's only been recently.
There was a book that had been written 15 years ago. That was the most recent book, New Zealand book. So it sort of was, time was right for us to rediscover this and actually start talking about it. And I feel really grateful to have done that, and also I just feel quite like I'm doing a lot of speaking now in workplaces, for example, and I feel really pleased to be able to do that work, and because people are so relieved to start talking about it. Actually, it's mostly the reaction that I get is just like, oh, thank you for starting to talk about this, because people they just want to, you know. So I think that we are a generation who are not going to shut up about this, and actually not going to just go and sit quietly in the corner, and you know, because we're not old ladies.
No,
we're in our prime.
And I feel like we're 10 years younger, you know, and I would say that than what it was in the older generation. We working later, more active. I don't know. We take more care of our. We understand about our.
Well, we're
health.
going to live longer, right? We are going to live longer than any generation probably before us, and so our lives are extended. We're not probably, none of us are probably going to retire at 65. It's not like we're just going to toddle off, you know. We are actually living and working longer and being well for longer, hopefully. That's the opportunity anyway.
That makes sense.
I think. So it's a generational thing, and just the time is right thing.
No, I'm all over it.
So we can either open, we can open to some questions now that we know, because of the live feed we've got some questions coming through right now, so we're very lucky to have some now.
Right, this is good. The little things are getting on my nerves, and some days I feel like a different person. What are some tips to help with moodiness and feeling generally irritable?
Yeah, that's so common. It's the mood stuff is big, and I think it's with everything in menopause. There's not just one solution. You actually have to look at all the things, and so it's hard to know the context. But if you're feeling irritable, maybe you're not sleeping. Maybe you're having hot flushes. Maybe you've got sore joints. You know, all these things contribute to mood, right? Maybe you're not having time to move your body. All these things. So you actually need to look at those kind of real basic fundamental things, which I'm sure Gareth's going to talk about too. You know, the sleep, obviously. Exercise is so important.
Yes, fresh air outside.
Diet, obviously, the nutrition is really important as well. Eating in a anti-inflammatory whole food. You know, healthy or plant focused way.
Yeah.
And then stress is absolutely terrible for everything in menopause. It's a kind of a confounding factor that just makes everything worse. So you've got to kind of find out and deal with the sources of your stress, which is not an easy thing to do, and also then have ways of managing your stress. And then the other thing I would say, which is really important before we run out of time, is the alcohol thing.
Oh yeah.
It's our frenemy.
Yes.
It's really our frenemy in menopause. It is at any time, but it's just so bad for all of the menopause stuff. It's making everything worse. So it's kind of like a quick win. We don't want to hear it. No one wants to hear this. But if you are if you're struggling and you want a quick win, giving it up or cutting it right down is a really good thing, and for sure that will help your mood.
Yeah. And another question. At 39, last test has shown I have no or low progesterone. Am I in perimenopause?
I do not want to answer that, not being a doctor.
Okay. And
is at 39, that's perimenopause can kind of start to happen in the late 30s, but
I suppose it's the time of the month that you.
It could be other. There's all kinds of other things that could be going on there. You need to really sort that out with your doc, I'm afraid.
And are birth control pills and progesterone cream the best ways for me to balance my hormones until I hit menopause?
Again, I don't want to answer that, although I will say that progesterone cream is not something that's regarded as safe or effective by anyone who's a menopause expert. That's a bit of a scam, the old progesterone cream.
And then one more quick question if we've got time. How does being on Mirena affect perimenopause?
Okay, yeah. So the Mirena is the IUD.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have we do this little?
Yes.
Just make sure we all know what you're talking about.
Oh, I've got one. I know all about the Mirena.
There you go. Yeah. So it's giving you progesterone.
Yes.
And so it will be contributing. It'll be sort of hopefully calming some symptoms. If you're starting to get perimenopause symptoms, it'll be calming some symptoms. So that'll just be happening in the background. If you go on to HRT, you won't need that will be the progesterone component of it. So you just need to take it. You just need to have a patch of estrogen, or whatever, however you take your estrogen, but it's usually a patch. And then the Mirena will be the progesterone component of the HRT.
Yeah.
And it's also it's quite useful in that it is actually birth control. So if you're in perimenopause, you still technically there's the potential to get pregnant there. So it's sorting that out for you as well. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
You've explained it well. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
I think we'll move on.
Yep, so the next thing we're going to be talking about with Gareth is we're actually going to focus on what we love the most is sleep. And this is definitely one of the parts that we hear a lot about is for women we do certainly get a raw deal, right? We've had to wake up early with our children when their baby's crying, sleep's disturbed, and we're just coming through and everyone's yay, and then we get whacked again where, I've heard from countless people, and myself included, people who were previously really good sleepers, suddenly waking at 2 o'clock in the morning, suddenly waking at 3 in the morning, can't go back to sleep, can't get to sleep just then suddenly being so impacted. So can you explain, Gareth, in simple terms, why this kind of quality sleep seems to sort of elude us and it's much harder to get in perimenopause?
Yeah. Okay.
So
I tell you what. So
Nikki
did a really good job of mapping the symptomology, and look, there's a lot of factors. Unfortunately, it's not a straightforward conversation. That's the unfortunate truth.
Yeah.
However,
with 40 symptoms, you're not.
However, there's fundamental laws of sleep that we should all know.
Yeah.
And they're laws that we can't break. But what you'll see very quickly when I describe them is that there's an unfortunate truth that when you're in perimenopause, you break just about all 3 laws. And it's the same with shift workers. Actually, they break all 3 laws as well.
Yeah.
So let's start with 3 laws, right?
Yeah.
So the first law is your wake and sleep schedule, your sleep and wake schedule.
Yeah.
Which also ties into your fast and eating schedule and ties into your exercise output schedule. They are the number one thing that dictate sleep quality and sleep maintenance.
Even in perimenopause?
At all stages of your life.
Okay.
Now, the unfortunate truth is as we age, over the age of 40, there's a rate of decline of around 3 to 5% per person, a normal rate of decline. throw perimenopause in there, and you see some for women who experience really heavy or chronic symptoms, who go through more of a 10-year period, then that rate of decline is faster. We see all the age-related symptoms start to accelerate, and so this is why trying to get on top of it as best you can, and it's as best you can, because I think Niki alluded to it as well. We can't cure it. There's no cure.
Yeah.
But
Well,
we
it's
can.
not an illness either.
It's not illness. It's a good point, and so good point.
It's not
But we want to mediate as much as possible, and so the scheduling, setting your schedule, and being as disciplined as you can with your sleep and wake schedule will help with melatonin production, help with serotonin production. They regulate the estradiol, which has been upregulated into estrogen and progesterone, and then that actually turns into testosterone. So there's a nice cascade there that all starts to malfunction and misbehave a wee bit. But if you can get a little bit more control over your sleep and wake schedule, be a bit more disciplined with that, you're going to see better results.
So give me an example of a sleep schedule, like an effective one, if we really know. If you were talking to me saying, okay, we've got to look at your sleep schedule, what would you say?
Great question. So, the first question I'm always going to ask, are you a night owl or are you a morning bird?
You see, and that's changed, I reckon.
Yeah, age and stage, it changes.
Yeah,
Body
yes,
stage,
that's
it
changed.
changes.
So now I wake really early.
Yep.
And I didn't used to.
How early is it?
Okay, well,
2 in the morning.
I'll bounce. I mean, I can wake at about 5:15.
Yep.
But I'll bounce by 6.
And so on the other side of the clock, when you hit around 8 p.m. or 9 p.m, do you have anything to say?
We just asked Simon. It's not a lot, no.
No. So that's a morning bird. That's a hard morning bird.
Right.
So she's swung to become a morning bird.
Yeah. I didn't
Alright,
used to.
so what we know about morning birds is they like to go to bed pretty early, around 9, between 9 and 10,
Yeah.
and they'll naturally wake around 5, 6
Yeah.
o'clock.
Yeah.
And so that's your sleep and wake schedule. And the way to figure out your sleep and wake schedule, it's actually relatively simple, intuitively. If you had no responsibilities tomorrow, you didn't have kids to deal with, you didn't have the job to deal with, you could just do what you wanted. When would you go to bed and when would you wake up?
Right.
And just about everyone can answer this question correctly.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, intuitively. They know, I would stay up till 1 and then I wouldn't wake up till 9 if they didn't have to go to a job.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's not rocket science, it's relatively straightforward, but then you've got to try to stick to that strategy.
So as an
It's
early
really
bird,
interesting.
a sleep schedule would be like, okay, you've identified as an early bird, stick to it.
So you've got to pick and stick.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you've identified something that's relevant, which is during different ages and stages of life, it can change.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the second principle that you talk about with sleep is light, darkness, and the production of cortisol, and how important that is.
Yep, so cortisol, melatonin was mentioned a little bit earlier, I think I said it as well. They have a synergistic relationship. Now there's another unfortunate truth here. Cortisol is a predation hormone, fundamentally, predation. So it's designed to wake you up, and get things going, and it pulses. So it's firing off whenever it wants to fire off, and if you have a bit of an emotional reaction to something, what happens? You get a cortisol spike. I mean, this is the fight or flight response, this is the stress sympathetic response.
Yeah.
But one of its primary things is it releases sugar into your system, which is the metabolic issue with perimenopause. So when you're getting spikes of cortisol through the night at 2 a.m. to wake you up, you're getting flooded with blood sugar.
But why would I be getting a spike of cortisol when I'm asleep? Am I like having a mental fight with someone in my brain?
Dysregulate it. Yeah, or you could be stressed. Yeah.
No, but is it perimenopause or that's a symptom? Just to be.
It is symptoms. So one of the symptomologies that we talked about is that reduction or the decline of progesterone and estrogen.
Oh, okay.
So that the whole hormonal cascade is starting to become disrupted, and so we've got an issue around stabilisation, regulation.
So the progesterone and estrogen would keep my cortisol levels normally pretty good.
No, melatonin would,
Oh,
but we're not producing enough melatonin.
yeah.
So the first part of that story is serotonin. So serotonin, and we talked about mood regulation. Serotonin helps with mood regulation, makes us feel happy, and certainly helps with the regulation of or the ability to stay out of things like depression and manage anxiety as well when it's working properly.
Yeah.
But what a lot of people don't realise is serotonin converts to melatonin when our eyes receive the signal for darkness. Now the biggest issue with melatonin is it's not a predation hormone, it's a saturation hormone. So it takes hours to build up. Which we go back to point 1, which is if your schedule's disrupted on a regular basis, then you're starting to become dysregulated. So you can't produce enough serotonin, you're not producing enough melatonin. Melatonin is a command hormone, it tells everything else when to do it and what to do. and then all your other organs are taking that information and they're firing off. Your pancreas are producing insulin to stabilize that blood sugar at the right time. Your liver is processing sterols, cholesterols at the right time. Your thyroid gland is doing what it's supposed to do, and this is the circadian rhythm.
And this is all of us when we're asleep.
This is happening through sleep with melatonin present.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because melatonin is telling everything else when to do it and what to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So light and dark exposure are critical to helping us produce enough serotonin and signaling enough melatonin. So if you've got real issues with sleep maintenance, we haven't got to heat yet, but let's assume for a second that you're not overheating. We'll get to the overheating piece. But the more dark exposure you can give yourself through those periods of time when it's really, really bad, the more that's going to aid in supporting better sleep maintenance.
Also, when I can get out of like doing anything with kids and dinners and stuff, I'm just going to lock myself in a dark room at like 4 o'clock going, I need my dark exposure, everyone.
Actually, I turn off my lights,
Well,
or
this
most
is-
of my lights
it
at
is-
night for
yes.
watching TV
That's
or
it.
just.
That's it. So we
Yeah.
have like 15 aqua candles at home. We have
Yes.
salt lamps. We
Yes.
have yellow lights. Fine. It's
Mm.
the whites, the greens, and the
Mm.
blues.
Yeah.
Those are the ones to really watch out
Yeah,
for.
yeah.
So that's the kind of the top of the hormonal stuff, and then the other one is temperature management, right, which we've spoken about. So you do have to grab a hold of this. And there's a couple of strategies. Again, these are just mitigation strategies. They're not solutions, but they certainly help you manage a bit better. And my favourite ones are the thermoregulation therapies. So I like the one I have to coach is I like them to use cold therapy. I like them to use, believe it or not, heat therapy.
Yep.
Yeah, because we want to try and stimulate the part of the gland in the brain that controls and regulates heat. And so we want to encourage it to try and heal itself. And the body is a healing machine. It is capable of trying to regulate itself better than what it's doing through those kind of chronic symptoms. So that's one of the strategies that I like to use.
So what you would say to a woman that they should have a cold?
Yep, so cold showers, we start with 20 seconds. Just have a hot shower. At the end of the hot shower, you start with 20 seconds and expose yourself to that. That's also going to aid in the other big challenge with perimenopause woman, which is metabolic disruption. So that's the change in body composition. So cold therapy mobilizes brown adipose tissue, the fat,
that's right.
which helps us to grab onto our yellow fat stools again, so they can be really supportive. And then on the other side, if we heat our body up, we actually force that pituitary gland to have to downregulate, which is what's happening through the night, right? So you're exposing yourself, you're kind of overcompensating to try and force that part of your brain that's not doing as well anymore to try and regulate itself again.
So having a hot shower before we go to bed, kind of thing. Or?
Yeah, or sauna.
So you have like a cold therapy in the mornings?
Colds go better in the morning, hot goes better in the evening, but not too close to bed, about 2 to 3 hours before bed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or a sauna?
If it's a sauna, if you're using a hot shower, it can literally be 15 minutes before bed.
A sauna?
No, if you're having a hot shower.
before.
Sauna has to go quite a bit earlier because of that amount of heat that you're exposing yourself to and the length of time. And so what we want to try and do with that, and what's interesting about that, is the inverse relationship with heat. So when you heat your body up, your core immediately starts to try and cool yourself down. And you need to be 36 degrees to go into sleep. And the part of sleep that breaks down the most for perimenopausal women is actually the front end of it, the deep sleep, which is when the first heat waves tend to kick off.
Yeah.
So if we can try and initiate sleep a bit better with that inverse relationship with heat, drop the core body temperature down as quickly as we can, we actually initiate and get better length of delta wave, which is the front end of sleep.
Yeah. And there was something I think you've mentioned a supplement before, or something that.
So glycine,
Glycine.
magnesium glycinate or magnesium biglycinate.
Yeah.
It's it's not.
So it's silver bullet,
not
I
a
know.
silver bullet, but
Yeah.
it can certainly help. It doesn't work for everyone, but it's something that I've certainly found beneficial, especially in its magnesium form.
Yeah.
Yeah, because then it crosses that blood-brain barrier and we get a pretty quick effect.
Oh, good. How are we going? Good time? Any questions?
How about melatonin? Like some people take that as a supplement. What would you think of that?
Yeah, I do like melatonin, but again, it's a clinical supplement. So if you're really bad, then absolutely. And there's places for clinical support with other stuff as well. Like if you're in insomnia, going to really bad levels of insomnia, then things like medically prescribed support, like supplements, Xanax. They're not actually sleep though. There's sedation.
Yes.
But look, it depends how bad the situation's got.
Yeah.
Everyone's different.
So we've had some questions come through, but one was around our night sweats ruining the sleep, and then you've talked about how to manage body temperature, which is cold therapy and then hot therapy, and that helps with core body regulation, right?
Yep.
Look at me, I think I'm like an expert, Gareth. And then we talked about how we used to be a good sleeper, but we understand now why we're not because of all the hormones. And then Susie, the question was, should I be taking melatonin tablets if I struggle to stay asleep? Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a clinically prescribed.
So it's sedation, it's not.
No, melatonin's not sedation.
Oh, that's not sedation.
Yeah,
A sleeping tablet is.
Yeah, but what you'll notice with melatonin, this is true, like even with HRT over time and TRT as well, is the effect starts to wear off. So it's not a long-term solution,
No.
but it can be an effective short-term solution,
Yeah.
a mid-range solution.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. Do you have any other questions?
Yeah, well, we could, what else would we like to talk
No,
about?
we've got
I've got a
some.
question actually,
Yeah.
which I think relates to your thing about the dark. I have been told by other sleep experts that getting outside in the morning and getting the light in your eyes in the morning is the serotonin booster, right? Is that right?
Yeah, it's a UVB,
Yeah.
UVB or UVA, it's one of them. That's the form of light that we enjoy the most. Yeah.
So that's a good thing for your sleep, is to get outside in the morning.
It is.
And that stabilises the cortisol.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is why it's a naughty habit to kind of have a coffee straight away when you wake up.
Yes, what's the story there? When
Yeah.
should you have a coffee?
So within, you want to leave it as long as possible, but 30 to 60 minutes is kind of recommended. And you're right, sunlight, because that preoptic nerve is it's called the supracosmatic nucleus. That's the centre of the brain where the cortisol spikes come from.
Yeah.
And that UV light calms those nerves. And switches on the production or the conversion of tryptophan to serotonin. So it's actually quite important. And I often say this when I do my talks: we're an outdoor creature masquerading as an indoor creature, other way around. Outdoor creature masquerading as an indoor creature. So a lot of the mechanisms of action are out there. They're environmental. Fundamentally. So that's something to consider.
It's the same with what they say with jet lag. Like if you get to another country and you're like sort of 18 hours behind, like get out into the sunlight as much as you can to start like acclimatizing and try to stick to the, move on to the new time as quickly as possible so your brain can start to adapt.
I was saying another question is, you get, I think it'll be quite common for a few of us, is that you get a habit of waking up at certain times in the night, like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock. What tips do you have if it becomes more of a routine that you're waking up at a certain time of the night?
So
you just want to go back to sleep.
if it starts to become clinical insomnia, which would be defined as hating going into a bedroom. So once you've got to that level where you've got a trigger of walking into a bedroom and having a fear of not being able to sleep, it's become chronic. And so in that circumstance, the kind of the clinical process from that point on is that you have to go through a break cycle. Is everyone familiar with Pavlov's dog? That's a habituation.
Yes.
You habituate yourself into that situation. Now it could be biologically driven with the hot flushes, and that could have started the process, but then it can become psychologically driven once it's anchored.
Yeah.
And so the first thing you have to do, there's kind of 3 major steps. The first step is you have to break the pattern, and this is horrible. So for about 30 days, you have to get up, get out of your bedroom, and go and practice a meditation, read a book, calm yourself as best you can to try and go back into your bedroom and try again.
Yeah.
And it sucks, and it can take a while. So there's this process to go through. The second step in that process is that you have to start to note down what triggered you, or figure out what was the thing that made you spin the wheels. So if your mind's the thing that's starting to trigger you walking into your bedroom, or if you're getting woken up by worry, then we have to get that down on a piece of paper. We have to journal it. And the next step is you have to pick one thing that makes you feel like you've got some positive momentum forward with that trigger, whatever that thing is. And then the biggest step, and the step a lot of people don't do, to be honest, is you have to action it. So that's, if you go through to a psychotherapist, that's kind of the process they'll walk you through. So it's not great.
No.
The other trick, and I'm actually about to do this for the first time with a woman next week. It's called phasing forward, and this is a great hack. And I'll see how it goes next week. But it works like this. I've never done this with a client, by the way. But this particular woman has exactly that. 2 a.m. 6 or 7 years, and take Zoclocone to try and get through it.
What?
Yeah. So phasing forward works like this. Light signalling is one of the mechanisms that we can use to trick or hack the brain that's got stuck in a process.
Okay.
So she doesn't have insomnia.
No.
She's got sleep maintenance insomnia, but it's
Yeah.
biologically driven.
Mm.
And so what we can do to try and push her beyond that 2 a.m. wake up is get her to sleep as long as she can. You know, it's not 2 a.m. every time, it's 2:15, it's 1:45. So she gets to 2:15 tonight, she's going to shine light in her eyes for 60 seconds, and we're going to reset her circadian rhythm at 2:15. Then she does it again the next night, and it buffers out about half an hour. And then this is the theory, by the way, I've never done this. This is from
Just
Andrew
by
Huberman.
shining a light. Oh,
Yeah.
Huberman, he's a real sleep.
So your
Mm.
light
Yeah.
signaling.
Yeah.
So you're telling
Yeah.
the supracosmic nucleus, here's the new wake up point.
Yes.
And so now your cortisol just goes, boom, pulses,
Yeah.
your body remembers that, it sets it, and now you've got the new sleep and wake cycle.
Oh, so it starts to push.
And then you do it again, and you
Yeah.
push out, and all of a sudden you're at 4:30, 5 o'clock. But again, it just takes a wee while to kind of, it's not perfect science, but you just, and then sometimes she'll regress. But as long as we can keep progressing the point in time, all of a sudden she'll be at a new
Oh, you have to
time
tell us.
Yeah, you'll have to
Yeah.
show us how
Yeah.
that is, because that's really interesting. It's quite.
So I've got a few
Yeah.
friends,
So
so
that-
their mind's racing, so you wake up and I just can't go back to sleep, and I just want to go back to sleep, and then they
Yeah.
just can't switch off again.
It's very common.
Yeah.
So
But that, I mean, this is like a habit of it's been for 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
That thing I always know with people, they say if you wake up at like 2 in the morning or 3, then you simply can't go back to sleep. Get up.
Yeah.
Get up. Go
Yeah.
and read a book. Go and don't turn on the TV, like, but just go and sit somewhere, get out of your bed, and then come back, because
Okay.
it's that toss and turning, and you just
Yeah.
Writing down all that stuff too, like all those things that are going swirling around, writing them all down on a piece of paper
Yeah.
when you get up, and then taking that piece of paper, crunching it up and throwing it away.
Oh, that's
Wow.
that's it's out.
Yeah,
It's
it's
out.
out.
It's cathartic.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah, I like
It can work.
Yeah,
And the things that you worry about when you wake up, you're like, what was I worrying about?
Yeah,
It's
that's
so
true
silly.
as well. You wake up in the
Yeah.
morning and suddenly it's like,
What's wrong?
what?
It's not as bad as you thought.
We just
Yeah.
catastrophize in the middle of the night.
That's
It really
that's
does.
exactly it.
It's
You do,
terrible.
you do.
Yeah.
We all do that.
Yeah, it's a bizarre thing. It seems like the biggest thing for your mental health recovery, yet we catastrophize the most at night time.
The other one is that is worth mentioning, which is a bit more woo-woo, and I used to work with a psychologist and he hated when I used to talk about this, but I think it works, is that like one of the symptoms of insomnia is that walking into your bedroom and feeling a state of fear about not being able to sleep. So change your bedroom, beautify your bedroom. So I use those, I have plants in my bedroom for 2 reasons, oxygenation but for beautification. Have artwork on the wall that you really appreciate. The gratitude piece is a real thing.
Yeah.
So
That makes
optimistic.
sense to me. I don't think that's that woo.
That's not woo woo.
That's not woo-woo? Oh,
I
cool,
mean,
awesome.
it's not like science, is it? But it makes sense that if you enjoy the environment.
Yeah, it's positive psychology.
Yes.
And we know that optimistic people sleep better than pessimistic people. It's
Yeah.
just fact. It's just the way it
It's
is.
not cluttered too, or
Yeah.
just it's tranquil,
Yeah,
peaceful.
You're setting your brain up for success, basically. Yeah.
Gratitude is a really good thing to practice anyway, because it switches on the feel good. You sort of,
That's
you
it.
know, yeah,
That's it.
Yeah.
Sometimes having to dig a bit deep, but good. Yeah.
I was thinking another, like going back to perimenopause and menopause. How do you feel once you've hit menopause? Like, what is it like? Hallelujah, coming out the other side.
A little bit, I think. Well,
Yeah.
for some women it is. Like,
Yes.
you know, when you talk to women who are way out the other side, they often go, "Look, I feel amazing. I've got the energy. I feel great. You know, no more periods. Everything's great." So there is a kind of a rewiring that happens, and there is literally a rewiring that happens in the brain during perimenopause as well. So that is a whole it's like the computer updating its operating system. So that's how I think of it. And it takes a while. It's a bit glitchy along the way, but once you get through that, it's actually better.
And then lucky for us, Niki, because we're going to hit through that side and go woohoo, and then like 10 years in going, it's all going south because we're aging. We'll get the expert back in because she's written a book and we're going to tackle these.
Well, you're right about women and aging.
Well, we need to reframe how we feel about aging as well.
Yeah, we do. I mean, I
Yeah.
saw that thing that you said where you with. I think you'd followed something, and I was looking at around just the whole aging thing with women having to almost feel like they have to look younger and younger as they age, but men don't have to worry too much.
Yeah, I think there's a whole lot of gendered
Yeah.
ageism that's happening, and I'm dealing with some of that. And I also think that we have to just really reframe how we think about aging for everyone.
For sure, I
But for
agree.
women in particular,
Yeah, I
you
can't
know,
wait for that.
we should be embracing it,
Yeah, I was gonna
not
say.
trying to sort of stave it off. And so I
Yes.
just, it's all this anti-aging stuff. I'm really,
Yeah.
I'm really
Yeah.
anti-aging.
Yeah, I'm with
Yeah.
you. I'm with you.
Yeah.
So that we're gonna, I think, wrap up our session. We've got 5 fun, quick fire questions. I'll
Right.
do you,
Yeah.
and then Susie's gonna go for it. It's not she's gonna ask.
They're fun.
Yeah, they're fun. Okay, Gareth. What's more important to have during menopause, sleep or exercise?
Or sleep, is that the options?
Yeah, that's all we got. What's the most important, sleep or exercise?
I don't think it is one or the other. I think it's
No,
both.
Gareth.
I got to pick one.
One, quick
Okay,
fire.
but
That's
I
an
know your
unfair
answer.
question.
But I know your answer.
Yeah, well, I think sleep is the foundation. So
Yes.
if you can improve your sleep in any way, shape or form through a particularly challenging part of your life, then that's what you want to do.
Because
Start
I
there.
Yeah, because I reckon without the good sleep, how the hell am I going to exercise? I'm too tired and I can't be bothered. So that I just
Okay.
answered it. That's not really. Anyway, what's best for women over 40? Strength training or cardio?
Oh, it's not that. It's not this or that. It's this and that. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
So if it's cardio, then I would say from a metabolic health perspective, it's got to be more zone 2. It's about 180 minutes a week. Zone 2 is actually just brisk walking or light jogging. It's very light.
180 minutes.
It's 180 minutes a week, and
Okay.
a big burst in 2 blocks is better than multiple little bursts, but lifestyle dependent, so get it in any way you can.
Okay.
So it's going to look after your mitochondria, and then the
Yes.
strength training is going to look after those bones,
Yes.
all right, and muscle structures. Because remember, all of us are the same. We're all declining from the age of 40, but you know, through that period of your life with the unstable hormones, it's even more challenging,
Yeah.
which adds to the metabolic issue, which adds to
Mm.
structural health issues.
So strength training, what, twice a week? 3? No.
2 would be amazing. If you can go 2, that's great. 3 is even better.
Okay. Best sleep hack you've ever known or heard of or read?
The number 1 sleep hack
Number one.
ever.
Ever.
Simple one.
Okay.
Is it got to be a simple one?
Well, you can be whatever you want.
It would be focus on sleep initiation. That would be so the focal point has to be how you go to sleep and how effectively you go to sleep.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, that will dictate the quality of the front end of the sleep. Even if you wake up at 2 a.m., that if that bulk of your delta wave is achieved, which is the front end,
Right.
the higher, the better you'll feel. Yeah. Even if you're shortchanging REM, which is on the back side of sleep, the better you're going to feel better for more delta waves. So sleep initiation. So then you go, well, how do you initiate sleep better? So I'm going to give you 3.
Okay.
I'm going to give you one. I'm gonna give you
Oh,
3.
that's just fun.
Yeah.
That's good.
The only one?
That's good.
Could only be one?
No, do the 3.
No,
Do three.
Definitely want to know.
Okay.
Same.
There's a reason why hot water bottles lasted as long as they did. Yeah. Okay, a hot water bottle
Yeah.
draws the core body temperature away, dropping your temperature down
Yeah.
and initiating sleep.
Mm.
Same thing with the hot shower, so same principle.
Yeah.
But hot water bottle, especially winter, brilliant. Um,
Every night.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, I love
There you go.
I
It's
love
slowly
them. I
done.
love them.
Okay, so that's the temperature hack. Then another one would be your parasympathetic hack, stretching.
Ah.
There's no downside to
Before
stretching.
bed.
Before bed.
Ah.
You pick one part of your body
Yeah.
that's really tight that you know you need to work on, and you do it for 3 minutes. So it's more like a yin stretch, a long form stretch,
Yes.
and you do that for 3 minutes on each side or in a positional repose, and allow your parasympathetic nervous system to do its thing, calm you basically, set you up for success. You do that with the hot water bottle, and you've really got to form
Wow,
it up.
that's so good.
And then I just think everyone can benefit from magnesium. So
Yeah.
I think that's a no-brainer for all of us.
Yeah, it's definitely made a difference for me, for sure. We need a minimum of 8 hours of sleep at night. True or false?
7.5 to 9 works in 90-minute blocks, give or take. It's probably different from person to person, but if you were to perfectly sleep for 8 hours, if you did that,
Yeah.
you would wake up with sleep inertia.
What does that mean?
So that means you're in the middle of a sleep cycle, and and your hormones are switched on for being in deep sleep or a deeper form of sleep, and so you'll wake up feeling groggy. So you actually 7.5 is the perfect window,
Is
or
it?
9, not
Oh,
8.
not 8.
No.
I did not know
Yeah.
that.
That was a proxy. It's a good proxy, and if you're getting 8, you're doing pretty well.
But you'd wake up groggy because you're
But
in
you
the
wake up
middle.
groggy because you're in the middle of a cycle.
Huh.
So 7.5 to 9, and ideally 1 disruption a night is kind of the golden ratio. But yeah, we've got to be practical about these things.
Yeah. And the last one, best sleep podcast.
Yeah, that would definitely be Andrew Huberman's sleep series.
Same. Yeah, he's amazing.
Yeah, I think he did probably the best breakdown of sleep.
Yeah.
But Matthew Walker is
he's
the absolute
awesome too. He's the guru, isn't he? Yeah. Awesome, thank you.
Oh, okay, right. I've got some great ones for you, Niki. What's more important to have during perimenopause, sleep or good nutrition?
Oh, it's another one of those.
Yeah.
So you can touch on both, but what do
I mean,
you
obviously
think?
you need both, right?
Yes. Yeah.
But I do also think that sleep is like,
Number one.
if sleep is terrible, everything else is shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I just think you're less likely to eat well if you're not sleeping.
Yeah, I find that you end up craving.
You almost feel like you're hungover and you just don't eat properly.
And you're just not, So I guess sleep.
Okay.
Yeah, if sleep is terrible, then sort that out and then everything else can follow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, your fave, a good walk or a gym session?
It's the same question.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, strength training is really, really important for perimenopausal women and beyond because of that loss of muscle mass. Exactly the same thing.
Yes.
And I think that's really, really
beautiful.
the importance of that is becoming more and more clear in the research that's coming out now.
Yeah.
So, if you could only do one thing, it would be the strength training. Not necessarily in the gym. You can do
No,
it
you can do it at home.
I do it at home.
Yeah.
As well, I do one session a week with a trainer and 1 or 2 sessions at home, and that's
Makes a
Yeah,
difference.
yeah.
Well, I've actually started to. I actually do feel better. I know it sounds really corny. I do feel stronger.
Well, I mean,
and you do feel
we
better.
need to build and maintain that
Yes,
muscle.
yeah.
Otherwise, we are going to be weak old ladies, and we're going to gain more weight, and we're going to feel our bones are not going to be strong.
Yeah.
So it's really important.
And best menopause health hack.
What's
What?
healthy?
Like what?
I think it's probably just assess your relationship with alcohol.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, if you had to pick just one thing.
Cut it out.
Yeah.
Or
Well, just
reduce it.
reduce it or
Yeah.
cut right back and see how
Yes.
you feel, because I
Yeah.
think you're probably going to feel a lot better.
We need a minimum 8 hours of sleep a night. True or false? What do you think?
I defer to the expert on that one. I would have said 7 probably.
7.5.
Yeah, so now I know 7.5.
If you can 7, you're still doing pretty well.
I'm normally hitting 7 if I'm doing pretty well with my sleep. So yeah, for sure.
Okay. And then best perimenopause podcast.
Gosh, I listen to so many. I actually really like Grey Areas, Petra Vega's podcast, which isn't specifically perimenopause podcast, but it's all about that reframing aging stuff.
Yeah.
And disclosure, I have been on it, but she's also talked to a lot of other people about this whole perimenopausal life stage and transitions in our lives and what it means to get older, all that kind of thing.
Yeah. I should listen to it.
And it's a local one too.
Yes.
Which
It's nice. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that's it. Well, I guess one of the other reasons we wanted to do this whole perimenopausal thing is given that it hasn't been a widely discussed topic in a very long time, it's only just come through in the last sort of few years, and I just don't want us as women to be looking at this like going, let's rebrand it. It's a change. We're evolving. We've got a few hiccups and physical, mental things to go through, but we should just embrace it, really, not see it as this big drag